At 32, Rachel Thompson thought she had her life figured out. Living in Lagos, married to a charismatic businessman, and clinging to the dream of motherhood, she thought love was enough to fill the gaps of time. But love, it turns out, doesn't always wait forever. After 8 years of fruitless prayers, failed IVF cycles, and the slow erosion of joy in her home, she found a note on the kitchen table. It was short, almost lazy. "I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry." He didn't pack much, just vanished into the night, taking with him the dreams they'd built together. Rachel read the note again and again like it was a riddle with a hidden meaning. It wasn't. He was gone. And with him, her sense of identity unraveled like thread pulled too tight. She spent days in silence, haunted by echoes of laughter that once filled her home. Friends avoided her, family whispered behind her back, and pity dripped from every glance. But Rachel wasn't made for pity. Somewhere beneath the grief was a flicker, faint, fragile, but unwilling to die. She forced herself out of bed, started volunteering at a child support center in Surulere. It wasn't much, but it kept her heart beating. One dusty afternoon, everything changed. 5 small girls were huddled in a corner, heads pressed together like ducklings. Their parents had died in a village pipeline explosion, a freak accident. No one wanted to take them in. "They come as a set," the social worker said, shrugging. "Too much for anyone." But when Rachel looked at them, she didn't see a burden. She saw herself wounded, unwanted, left behind. Something in her cracked open. Rachel couldn't sleep that night. Those girls, their faces, their quiet fear haunted her. The youngest clung to a torn teddy bear like it was oxygen. The eldest stood rigid, watching everyone like a hawk. In that sleepless dark, a voice whispered from deep inside her, "This is the family you prayed for. Not the one you expected, but the one meant for you." The next day, she returned to the center and said the words that would change everything. "I'll take them." People thought she was mad. A single woman with a modest bank job, a 1-bedroom bungalow, and no experience raising children. But Rachel didn't flinch. She had something stronger than logic, conviction, and a heart bursting with motherly love that had nowhere to go until now. One by one, she brought them home. First came Eden, 10 years old and fiercely protective. Then Zara, quiet, bookish, and intuitive. The twins, Amara and Amira, followed, all laughter, pranks, and tangled hair. Finally, baby Alora, just 4, wide-eyed and whisper soft. The house transformed overnight. Her couch became a trampoline, her walls a canvas, her soul finally breathing. The early days were chaos. She ran out of food, money, and patience on more than one occasion. But she never ran out of love. For the first time in years, Rachel felt seen, not by adults, but by 5 little souls who clung to her, like she was the only steady thing in their storm. Being a mother of 5 wasn't like the movies. It was fire and rain, beauty and heartbreak, often in the same breath. Rachel faced challenges that would have made lesser women break. Eden refused to trust anyone. Zara cried at night for parents she couldn't remember. Amara and Amira fought over everything, including who got to sit closest to Rachel. And little Elora didn't speak at all for weeks. Still, Rachel met every tantrum with a bedtime story, every scraped knee with a kiss, and every question with an honest answer. She taught them how to make puff puff from scratch, how to say sorry when they meant it, and how to pray even when it was hard. The community raised eyebrows. Some called her reckless, but others watched in awe. She didn't just provide shelter, she redefined what it meant to be a mother. One rainy Sunday, they danced outside barefoot. Gospel music poured from the old radio, and the girls laughed like they'd never known sorrow. That night, as Rachel tucked each one in, she whispered the same words, "You are safe. You are loved. You are mine." In that storm-soaked moment, something ancient and holy rooted itself in the walls of that home, a kind of love that no bloodline could claim and no tragedy could break. As the years rolled by, Rachel's little girls blossomed. Eden developed a sharp mind and an even sharper sense of justice. She joined the debate team and crushed opponents with poise and grace. Zara buried herself in science, tinkering with gadgets and dreaming of rockets. The twins? They became unstoppable, launching a TikTok page where they mixed fashion and comedy to viral success. And Elora, once silent, now sang like the morning, her voice soft, pure, and full of magic. Rachel never missed a school event, never skipped a parent-teacher meeting, never let her girls forget that they were destined for greatness. She worked late into the night freelance writing, data entry, anything to pay for school fees and uniforms. Her back ached, her spirit sometimes dimmed, but her resolve never cracked. She didn't care about recognition. She cared about impact. She often said, "The world may not call you queens yet, but I already see your crowns." And slowly the world began to notice. Eden got a scholarship to one of the top universities in Nigeria. Zara won a national science competition. The twins got a clothing line deal with a local boutique. Elora was invited to sing at the governor's daughter's wedding. Rachel watched from the shadows, smiling. She didn't need the spotlight. Her daughters were it. Teenage years are a battlefield. The girls grew louder, bolder, sometimes too bold. Eden clashed with Rachel over curfews. Zara became reclusive, locking herself in her room for hours. The twins broke a neighbor's window with a failed YouTube experiment. Elora got suspended for slapping a classmate who mocked her background. Rachel cried sometimes, in the bathroom, in silence. She questioned everything. Was she enough? Was she doing this right? But even on her worst days, she showed up. She learned to listen instead of lecture, to discipline without shaming, to apologize when she overreacted. And the girls, even in their rebellion, loved her fiercely. Then came the turning point. Eden returned one day with a letter she had been accepted into a prestigious UN Youth Forum. Rachel wept as she read it, not for the opportunity, but for the girl who once refused to speak. All 5 girls began to shift. Their rough edges softened, arguments lessened, gratitude grew. Rachel realized something profound. She wasn't raising daughters, she was raising women. And through them, her own healing deepened. By the time Eden gave a TEDx talk on resilience in the face of rejection, people began asking, who raised these girls? Rachel's story, though never publicly told, began leaking into the world through whispers and online posts. She remained quiet, humble, watching from the shadows as her daughters rose like the sun after a long night. Zara's science project, a solar-powered water purifier for rural homes, caught the attention of an international NGO. They flew her to Geneva. Amara and Amira were featured in a Lagos fashion magazine as twins changing the aesthetic game. Elora, still barely 15, released a gospel single that trended for weeks. The girls had become icons, not just for their talents, but for their integrity. Rachel, meanwhile, kept to her routines. She still rose before dawn to pray, cooked jollof rice every Sunday, and checked her girls' social media accounts for inappropriate content. But one morning, she found her picture, a candid shot of her sitting with all 5 girls during a street outreach, trending online. The caption read, "This is what royalty looks like, the mother of queens." She was stunned. Thousands of people were sharing the image, and for the first time, her story wasn't just whispered, it was heard. Rachel turned 60 in quiet reflection. Her once small house in Surulere now felt even smaller when all 5 girls came home. Each of them successful, vibrant, and full of plans. That morning, the smell of fresh moi moi and coffee filled the air. They surprised her with a cake shaped like a crown and a photo album titled, "For Our Queen." Then Eden brought out the gift, a silver key on a ribbon. Rachel stared at it, confused. The girls pulled her outside where a large van waited. Inside were photos of a newly constructed house, wide verandas, a lush garden, and rooms big enough to host her entire extended family. "We built it," Zara whispered. "It's yours." Rachel's knees buckled. Her girls caught her. They drove her to the new house that afternoon, a modern 2-story home in a quiet part of Lekki. It had rose bushes, wide windows, and a kitchen she could only dream of. When she stepped in, she wept, not because of the marble tiles or the chandelier, but because every wall echoed with gratitude. Later that week, they handed her a trust fund document, 5 signatures, 5 lives saying, "You will never worry again." She held the paper like it was gold. In truth, it was worth far more. It was proof that every tear she ever shed had grown something eternal. 1 year later, the world saw something that had never happened before. All 5 girls, now women, announced their engagements. But instead of separate weddings, they chose one massive celebration. 5 grooms, 5 brides, one mother, one unforgettable day. The wedding took place in Abuja, in a floral cathedral built just for the event. Media outlets swarmed the event. A-list guests arrived in droves. The dresses were custom designed by Amira and Amara, each tailored to represent the bride's unique journey. Alora sang during the ceremony, her voice turning even the strongest politicians into weeping statues. But before any vows were exchanged, the ceremony paused. The MC walked to the front and said, "Today we don't begin with the brides. We begin with the woman who taught them what love is." And then thunderous applause. The crowd rose to its feet as Rachel, dressed in deep royal blue, was escorted to her seat of honor. They called her Mama of Queens. Dignitaries bowed, strangers hugged her. Her daughters each knelt before her, whispering blessings and gratitude. And Rachel? She simply smiled through her tears, hands shaking as she whispered to herself, "This is more than I ever imagined." The wedding went viral. News stations picked up the story. People across Nigeria began messaging Rachel women who had been abandoned, childless, widowed, all saying the same thing. "You gave me hope." Publishers approached her. NGOs offered collaboration. One organization asked her to become the face of a new initiative, Homes of Hope, which matched abandoned children with willing caregivers. Rachel didn't chase fame, but she accepted the chance to do more. She traveled from Port Harcourt to Kaduna, telling her story, encouraging women to redefine what family means. She met mothers raising siblings alone, grandmothers holding together entire lineages, and young girls who felt forgotten. To all of them, she said the same thing: "You don't need to be chosen. You only need to choose love." Eventually, a documentary was made about her life. It was titled "The Queen Who Chose Them." Her photo, the same one of her sitting with her girls, was used on the cover. It won awards across Africa and was nominated for an International Humanitarian Film Prize. But Rachel remained grounded. Every Sunday, her house, the new one, still rang with laughter, spilled juice, gospel music, and grandchildren crawling beneath the table. In her old age, Rachel took long walks through her garden, now blooming with over 50 varieties of roses, each planted by a daughter or grandchild. She would sit under the mango tree with a book and a shawl, watching generations play in the sunlight. They called her Mama Rachel. Her legacy stretched far beyond bloodlines. Eden became an ambassador for women's rights in Africa. Zara launched a tech innovation hub for girls in STEM. Amara and Amira built a design institute that trained low-income creatives across West Africa. Elora, she filled global concert halls with music that healed broken spirits. Every speech they gave, every award they received, they mentioned one name: Rachel Thompson. She died peacefully at 89, surrounded by her daughters, sons-in-law, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. At her funeral, no one cried in despair. They wore white and gold. They sang the same hymn Alora had performed on her wedding day, and on her tombstone were etched these words: "She raised queens, built nations, and chose love. The world is better because she said yes." And so, the story of a woman abandoned and heartbroken became a legend that changed generations, proof that love, when chosen courageously, creates legacies that no storm can erase. What did you think of Mother of Queens? Did Rachel's journey move you the way it moved us? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Which part touched you the most? If stories like this inspire you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more powerful real-life tales that remind us of the strength of love, sacrifice, and purpose.